Now, a few implications of this as I see it. The first one is that the hierarchical relationship between man and woman, which is clearly established within this text, is something that occurs, as we might say using Christian terminology, after the fall. That the hierarchical relationship between man and women, the fact that men hold and wield authority over the man, is something that happens following the disobedience. It's something that is part of the curse. Now, doesn't that imply that in an ideal universe, in an Edenic universe, a universe corresponding to the Garden of Eden, which presumably is the perfect life, the perfect picture of the relationship between men and women, there wasn't this hierarchy? Doesn't this imply, I think, that the hierarchy begins here with the curse, begins here with the introduction of sin into the world? It's a very small movement then to say that the hierarchical relationship where men exercise their authority over women, what we're calling in our class the patriarchy, that this kind of a hierarchical relationship is a product of sinfulness and not, as we might say, the way things are, or even more dramatically, the way things should be. Isn't there implied in the fact that the hierarchy is introduced by means of a curse? Isn't it then implied that hierarchy between men and women is a bad thing and something which in God's own time the true egalitarian or equal relationship between the men and the women will once again be established? Well, we're going to file that away and think about that and look at that as we examine various passages. The question we're addressing here, and I'm suggesting some answers, is the hierarchy of patriarchy, the hierarchy that places men above women, is that intrinsic in the nature of being man and woman, or is that something that is constructed as a result of human sinfulness? I'm suggesting that chapter 3 indicates that it's a result of sinfulness, that the woman was, previous to this, an associate, a helper suitable for the man. They functioned in a kind of relative equality, and as part of the curse, as part of the punishment on woman, she is placed in a hierarchical relationship under the man. So let's recap now. We've gone over the two primal stories relating to the first man and the first woman. The first of the stories we read from Genesis 1 indicates two things. First, it indicates a complete equality between the man and the woman, both of them in themselves representing the image of Yahweh. Further, we see suggested, and I'm not going to pick this up again until towards the end of the semester, second of all, we see suggested that Yahweh himself should not be understood as a male deity, but rather as a deity that embodies within himself both male and female characteristics. The second story, Genesis 2 and 3, is much more, I say, problematic or difficult to interpret, because on the one hand, we can interpret the entirety of the Garden of Eden story, Genesis 2 and 3, as affirming, as indicating, as introducing the notion of women as weaker, women as more prone to sinfulness, women as a source of temptation, and ultimately women as eternally fixed in a gender hierarchy with men on top and women on the bottom. However, that is not the only possible way to read the Garden of Eden story, Genesis 2 and 3. We can also see that story as representing women as more resourceful than men, women as more articulate and intelligent than men, and finally that the hierarchy, the patriarchy, which all of the versions will ultimately establish as part of the Israelite society, that this gender relationship, this hierarchy, is in fact part of the curse, part of human wickedness, rather than part of the nature of things, the way that things should be. And these two passages, Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 and 3, are absolutely foundational for our understanding of what's going on with gender relationships within the Hebrew Bible. Thank you.